the agenda. So, Andrew, if you want to start with the fiber runs.
Sure. Share my screen here. All right, so the following memo, I believe, was shared with the whole committee. I think Mr. Nixon shared it earlier today or yesterday. So at the current Lynch Elementary site, the prior building had 2 fiber lines. There was one main line and one redundant line that was run to the school. And townwide, we have redundant fiber going to all of our buildings, town and schools. So the goal of this project is to sort of replace both of those lines that were going to Lynch. Upon review with the town and some of our outside vendors, we found that the existing fiber was frail and needed to be replaced. And what this project does is replace both those lines. So there's a line that runs from DPW to the elementary school, and a line that runs from VO currently, in which we would connect to. So that's the line in red would be the VO connection, and the line in blue is to the Public Works office. And so installing both of those would give us our main line and then also our redundant line. It's in front of you tonight. There is a approximate 8 to 10 week lead time on doing this work. So that's for ordering the fiber and then for the company to install it. The proposal you received is through Comtrax, which is they're a vendor on the state bid list, and they really are well versed on this type of work. So the recommendation from the Lynch project team, town IT, and the school department is to do this, both of those lines at once. We did review a scenario of possibly phasing it out and doing kind of some front end work and then coming back with an ask for the redundant line. But in reviewing of that kind of townwide infrastructure, we really need both of these installed at the same time in order to kind of have that uptime and redundancy for the entire network. It will allow us to go live for the opening of school having a main line and a redundant line.
And Jay, can we ask Matt Griffin to maybe introduce himself real quick for those who don't know who he is or who don't see him at town meeting, make everything run smoothly?
Yes, Matt, you want to jump in?
Hi, my name is Matt Griffin. I work for the town's IT side and work with the school's IT department.
So I think Meg had prepared, I think, a couple of different options for managers' letters tonight, depending upon where the conversation goes, right? So if we fund one line or if we fund both, we're ultimately looking to get to a spending authorization tonight. But we were looking to open it up for Q&A before we get there. I wonder, Andrew, could you or Matt maybe just take a moment and talk about how this historically had been done? Was this something Mr. Dooley did on behalf of the fire department? We're not in a position to do it anymore the way we used to do it historically, right?
Yes, that's the case. So 20-something years ago, John Dooley and Pete Gove of the fire department ran the fiber lines for the town between all the buildings. And what they did is, I guess they brought in a couple other radio companies from other surrounding towns to help them run the lines. We don't have the equipment for it because the cabling's too thick and too heavy. So it's kind of out of the realm of what the fire department can do now. And you don't have that kind of sharing of companies between towns as much as you did 20 years ago.
Great, appreciate it, thanks.
And I guess we're open for questions. Emily, you had your hand up. Do you still have a question?
Yeah, I was just going to ask, I'm unsure if it does pass and it goes forward, where the funding would come from, because it wouldn't, right? Like we have Andy's budget for construction, but I assume this wouldn't pull from that. Would this pull from a different bucket?
Yeah,
You want to jump in?
Yeah, I'd ask Meg to clarify. I think we were planning out of the contingency fund. Maybe Andy would speak, or Meg, about I believe there's 5.9 million still in there right now.
Well, there is some money for this in the budget, right, Andy?
Andy had mentioned something last week about that.
Yeah,
I don't have the munis report in front of me, so.
we have a very healthy contingency. Construction contingency, we still have 5.9 million. I don't expect us to use all of that for this project. There are also some saving, like on the project on the soft cost, such as there's some I have 43,000 in wetlands existing condition that we're not going to use. I have another 40,000 in traffic that we're not going to use for this project. It's a saving. I also have 69,000 for a utility fee. That's still out there. And also 134,000 in swing space. We can use it from those soft costs.
So Emily, to kind of answer your question, no, it wasn't a specific line item in the overall project budget that we were tracking against or holding on to, but understanding that there's some cost savings in some of the lines, that it would better the project, and hence the reason why the team is bringing it forward.
It makes sense. So you guys would write the contract to this company, or Brate would? It wouldn't go through the town?
It would go through the town directly.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Don had a question?
Yeah, is there any reimbursement that would come back from MSBA for this, or is this sort of outside the
No.
realm of the school project? Okay. In reading the proposal, it looks like the lines will be run in existing duct bank. We're not having to rip up streets and do any major construction to install the lines.
Yeah, the lines are mostly hung on the poles, Don, and then
Oh,
there's,
okay, they're above
then-
ground. Okay.
yeah, and then when it's sort of coming into the building, there's conduit that was put in for the project, so it's going to run through that conduit that's already existing.
Okay, thanks, Andrew. And then one last question. The police detail says that that's not included in the proposal. That might come out of one of Andy's contingencies there. Any idea of what? I thought it was 90 hours or something like that. There was some number of hours in there that for police details that would be needed. Any idea what the cost for that would be?
Meg, do you know more of that? And
No, I'd have to do the math, but I'd have to figure out exactly where it was. The police don't always require detail depending on what road they're on. So, I'd have to sit down and look at with Frank Batchelor, and then we could get a better understanding of what it was, but they
Okay.
won't need to be out there the full 90 hours, given some of these streets.
Do we then need to add some sort of a contingency if we do the
Yeah.
129,662? I'm sorry. Yeah, that's
There were,
the
there
question.
were- I'm sorry, this is John.
Go ahead.
I'm
No, go
driving,
ahead.
so I don't,
Go ahead.
there were some other, the police detail, but I'm sure remember there may be some other costs that were in there that weren't covered. I just
Right.
wanted, similar question. I can't look at it at the moment, but I think there were a couple of other things that were noted
Right.
in the proposal.
Yeah, it was bare bones, basically, yes,
Yeah.
with no contingency in there.
Yeah,
Meg, how do you usually handle that?
Well, I honestly, I'll be honest, I haven't really looked at this, so, or can you scroll down on the paper right now?
there's one page
Oh,
that
this
shows
is
it.
just your memo, okay.
Can I throw out a suggestion, Jay, while we're scrolling?
Yes,
Would,
right ahead.
if the concern is, I just switched off the phone, if the questions are coming up around the cost of police detail, Matt, is that something, Matt, that your IT budget could shoulder if we pick up the cost of the actual infrastructure and installation?
No, it's not even close to being anything like that in my budget.
Never hurts to ask.
No,
We,
I trust me, it's a good idea, but I don't have the funding.
Why don't we get Todd and Richard's questions, and then we can circle back in case they overlap into a new item. Todd, do you have a question?
Yeah, my question was, these cables are dedicated to Lynch only?
No,
Right, so, yeah, so, or I can let Matt speak, but sort of the cables are run to Lynch and serve with that redundancy in main line. There's a benefit is we network together with the town to have like an overall redundancy and paths for our connections.
Okay, so we'll pick up some benefits for the town through our project budget.
Yeah, but
Correct,
to
yeah.
be clear, these were already in the building when the building was demolished and they had to be taken down.
It's okay.
Yeah.
So then
Yeah.
I have a second question in that, I'm assuming that the redundant line is run in the same path as the main line, right? And so doing both at the same time would certainly make a lot of sense labor-wise.
Correct, yep.
Well, it runs for a distance and then it branches off.
yes.
Yeah.
But it completes the loop. So we're in a wheel, picture like a spoke wheel. So if you do not do the blue line and you only have the red line that's going back to VO, you effectively broke the redundancy for the whole town, which is including school buildings as well as municipal buildings. You need both lines for us to be redundant.
It makes sense to do them both now.
So Todd, that leaves lynching. I believe it goes to DPW, correct, to finish the loop?
The blue does, it goes to the DPW building and right then straight to Lynch. The red line will connect at I forget the end of Wood Street, I believe, that then go all the way up to VO.
Okay. Richard, question?
So the line that goes to VO, then is the red line from Lynch connecting to a line that already exists? Or how come we don't see that?
They
red
just
line
didn't
going
put
up
it
to
in the
VO?
drawings. It's
Is
just not, they just, Comtrax didn't put it in there. So what that is, that red line that ends on the street is actually gonna connect to the existing Lynch line from VO.
Oh, okay. So there's an existing line there that's still in good condition. It
Correct,
can be connected then. All right.
yes.
And then where is the
Fortunately.
other, the redundant line from VO connect? That go down to Ambrose and then,
It goes the VO to the fire station, then the fire station to Ambrose. So it's,
okay.
the loop is the
That's
other
like that.
direction.
So Richard, these both were in the building before we demolished it, and we met over there and had them pulled back into the woods area and capped before the building came down to keep the fiber going. But they're at the location of the old school, of course. They came in the corner of the old school.
Oh, okay. So they're
They're in the
well
opposite.
located for the new school.
Right, right. And that's probably where that location is to connect, I would assume, somewhere near that.
And the reason that going down Sylvester and Middlesex to the DPW building is not used as a,
So the original line coming from the DPW went down Lake Street to Middlesex Street and then into some woods, some bike path that they had 20 years ago, up a hill and down a hill into the corner of where the school used to be by like the administration office. You can't find that bike path. It's 20 years. There's trees and everything else on it. So what you would have to do is now pull back. You're better off starting from the DPW building itself and just go all the way down Lake Street, because now you'll be all telephone pole instead of having to go near ground or anything.
okay.
Right, we think it went underground at the bike path somewhere, right?
Yes.
Because we couldn't find it walking. We couldn't find what happened to it back when we
Good
turned.
luck. We could find the pole that the conduit goes into the ground, but that's as far as we could go tell. Like I said, it's been 20 years and the kids don't apparently do the bike path much anymore. So it's very difficult to find the route. And I don't even know if you could dig it up because that's all conduit and everything else.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
So
there's
the
still
problem is-
there's still a walking path there.
Yes, but when it takes that right-hand turn off that path somewhere,
In the woods,
down.
okay. And you couldn't bring the line up Horn Pond Brook and bring it in over the pedestrian bridge?
no, there's no access point for us into that side of the building as well.
Okay,
That's one of the reasons I think they went down that bike path 20 years ago, because you couldn't get over the water.
gotcha. All right,
Etha,
thank you.
question?
Yeah, I just have a quick question. I guess Chris was mentioning the manager's letter, bringing some options. Just curious, with the cost in front of us, if both has to happen at the same time, would that the vendor could take into consideration and give a better price? Just curious.
Yeah, I can add. So, Geetha, this is the best price, and so if we were to break it out or to delay other parts, the price would increase.
Okay.
So
Okay.
this is
So
yeah,
the price we have in front of us is considering both will happen at the same time, correct?
correct. Yeah,
Okay. Okay. That's what I wanted to clarify.
Yeah.
Okay. Because otherwise, if we break it up, then it'll be more, right? Okay.
right. Yeah, it's really the labor part of it. So this,
Yeah. Yeah.
the supply would remain the same. but
Okay.
You're
Okay.
correct.
Yeah. Does this work require any permitting? I know you guys are under any kind of, I don't know, Meg, and you said permitting, I meant, mhm.
No, there's no permitting.
Okay.
No.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Considered
you.
utility work. No.
All right.
Richard again?
I just forgot what I was gonna ask, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Oh, taking it up.
And Jay, I would just add, so what's on our memo is really, it's queuing up the proposal, the true cost. I think to cover some of those other incidentals, if we put a 10% contingency, I think that would more than cover what we would need as we kind of further review and, build out that schedule for any police overtime or trash removal, et cetera.
Meg, what's your thoughts on that amount when it comes to details and such?
It could be a little low as far as details. I mean, details run up. But again, I would know, I'll know better when we don't need to approve the details right now to get them under contract and get the materials ordered. I could try to get a better understanding of what the details would cost on this. I don't think the other items are going to add up to much of anything. So for now, 10% works, and then we could always come back if we needed more.
Okay. Don?
Well, yeah, I was gonna recommend a 15% contingency, just to cover everything, because this is pretty important. We need to get it going, right, Meg? And
Yes, we need to
so-
order the materials.
yeah, so I would make a motion to accept the contract for 129 662.28 with a 15% contingency, subject to Meg refining what the extra costs, such as the police details, might run. And then approve the town manager to accept the contract.
All right, Richard, do you have a question first?
Again, yeah, sorry, Jay, is Eversource done in this area?
Yes, they're done everywhere.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll
I thought I'd
second
heard
that.
something at one time about them coming back
Oh,
to
sorry.
Abington.
Well, I mean, we don't have any MOUs in place right now. There's no talk, but,
Okay.
so as far as we're
Good.
concerned, they're done, but you never know.
Chris?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I support Don's motion, but if we take it up under spending authorizations, and Meg has prepared a couple of things for us to look at, I would just go for a fat round number. I mean, my motion would be to authorize a spending authorization in the amount of $149,000 to cover the material and installation as presented, plus an allowance for police detail and other ancillary costs. And we would just ask Meg to track that for us.
It's 129 something. Anyway.
149 with a contingency, Geetha.
Okay, okay. All right. I'll second.
All right, we'll do a roll call. Frank is not here. Lisa?
Yes.
Let's see, Brendan. Todd?
Aye.
Geetha did. Geetha? You second, so I'm sorry. John?
Yes.
Colleen?
Yes.
Mark, I don't see on. Richard?
Yes,
Don?
Yes, and I rescind the motion I made earlier.
Okay.
Yield to Chris's motion.
And
Yes.
Emily last.
Yes.
All right, so we're good, Meg.
So, was that 149,000 even?
Even.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
All right, next is a review for the 10th, which will be two PCOs. Andrew, Andy, you want to give us a little update on that quick?
So
Sorry to
next-
interrupt. I believe I'm probably not part of this piece of the committee.
Hey,
of the
I
meeting,
think you're all set. Yep.
right?
Thanks,
Yeah.
Matt.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night. Thank you.
Matt.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Matt.
everybody, and I appreciate your
Okay.
support for this project.
No,
Have a nice day now.
get it done, get it done.
All
So
right.
next week, we'll be reviewing PCO 24R2 site signage and PCO 2R2 for the riprap changes. Colleen, you have a question?
And we'll also, before we move on to questions, we'll also be presenting a proposal from Ridgeline Analytics that we've used on many of our projects. And they do third-party inspection and analysis as well as testing inspections for all of the solar canopies and the PV arrays to make sure that they're installed correctly based on the contract documents.
Colleen, do you have a question?
Yeah, just a perfect question after Vivian's statement about the solar. So it just very quickly came up at our energy meeting. Obviously, we're relying on the Inflation Reduction Act to pay for, I think it's about $300,000 of the solar array. And so that I know we haven't really talked in detail about this, but if it possibly was installed around the June timeline, it's just the fiscal year, we'd be able to account for it this year. Otherwise, we have to wait another year. So I just wanted to say that we can talk more about it later, but it came up and it's just sort of timely given how fast things are moving with the current.
So Colleen, speak to Ken today on this.
Oh, good. Okay.
And we're getting an update, and we're missing one part to the solar that will not be until July 11th.
Okay.
So I informed them, so we miss, and I said, on the private side, you just have to be mechanically complete, which we could
Okay.
possibly there, but he said, no, they had to be interconnected. So
Okay.
it puts him off that, there's no way you're gonna be interconnected in June with the utility company.
Yeah, I thought it was unlikely, just given
Yeah.
all the
If it was
snacks.
mechanically complete, there's a push, but,
Okay.
you're not gonna be interconnected and on. And he said that's what the government, that's what they want.
All
So,
right. Just cross our fingers. We
Yeah.
get another year of it. Yeah.
Yeah, this proposal is more because a lot of municipalities are not set up for the inspectional services to really fully understand the solar canopies and the PV arrays that go up on the roof and throughout the property. And Ridgeline Analytics, which we've used on other projects, has been fantastic at coming in, doing all the site work, looking at all of the connections, writing up their reports, making sure that they're all adhering to the contract documents. Since this is such a not super new, but it is for towns and municipalities to do the inspections for it, to approve and close out the permits, that they've been fantastic. And this is what we're proposing, and we'll bring it forward next time.
okay.
And can we just confirm for that presentation next time, Vivian, will their proposal include services until we are actually connected to Eversource's grid?
And
you know why I'm asking that question.
I do. So I'll double check their proposal because we did receive it, and I didn't look to see if their timeline extends till then. I can look at that and bring forward when we do present.
Okay. I think a clause like that would be very helpful, and I hope we don't face any kind of delay that other schools have faced, but there's always that potential.
Yeah, some of the delays, though, in doing a little bit of a deep dive into it, it isn't necessarily the project team or the documentation. It's sometimes just having that dedicated person on the town side to follow through and do all the paperwork, especially with all of the utility companies. All their requirements and regulations are changing moment by moment.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Richard, question?
Yeah, if it's appropriate, Jay, could we get an update on the Morocco statement of interest at our next meeting?
So that's actually the school committee thing, Rich.
Okay, so that's not
school
appropriate
committee
for
and
this committee.
select board.
Gotcha.
We just made a grand handoff on Monday, at least for phase one. But we'll be talking about that soon. The window is open, closes later this spring. We're in the process of Frank and Andrew and I are working on a draft. And yeah, but we need to talk about it at the school committee table, and then maybe we could probably give an update on the 10th or 24th.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't looking for one tonight, but I was just wondering if
Yep.
it can be added to the agenda for one of the
Got it.
meetings. But thank you.
All right, next meetings next Monday and the 24th, if we need it. We'll hold it open for now.
Motion to adjourn 6:28.
All right,
Second.
I second.
all right.
Okay.
Lisa,
Yeah,
Todd,
Yes.
Geetha?
I said yes, sorry. Yeah.
Okay, all right, sorry. John,
Yes.
Colleen,
Yes.
Mark is not on. Don
Yes.
and Emily.
Yes.
All right, everyone, thanks for taking time out for this.
Thank you.
meeting.
Yep.
Thanks.
Good night.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jay.
Good night.
Bye-bye. Good
Thanks,
night.
Meg. Thanks, Andrew.